When I was 11 years old, I saw my sister, who was 4 years older than me, do a dramatic recital of Guy de Maupassant's The Necklace. It was an auditorium, maybe 200 people. Everyone was jabbering away, and I looked around and saw them all talking, and then the lights started to fade, fade, fade. Then complete darkness, and then you could hear a pin drop. And the curtains opened, spotlight hit, and there was my sister for 20 minutes doing this monologue. And I thought that that must be about as close to actually being God as you could get. And I went to her acting teacher right after she finished, and I said, "Could I study acting with you?" And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, 11. And he said, "If you still want to, when you're 13, come back and see me." He thought that 11 years old was too young to seriously study acting. Not tennis. Tennis you can start at 9 or 8 or 7, but not acting. He didn't believe in child actors. He wanted to have someone at 13 who would understand what he was saying. And the day after my 13th birthday, I called him up and I studied with him for 5 years till I finished high school. And then went to university and the Bristol Old Vic and all that. But it was seeing her on stage that way, and that everyone watched her and listened to her. And you could hear a pin drop. I said, I'd like to have that. I studied privately with Herman Gottlieb in Milwaukee. I studied at the University of Iowa in classes. And when I came to New York, I studied in Lee Strasberg's private classes with 30 people. And then I got accepted into the Actors Studio, and I studied there for 4.5 years. When he was teaching really well, he was brilliant. He helped me a great deal because I had all these ideas about what acting was. And then he cleared it up. He said, all that stuff you learned is intellectual, but if you have a relaxed body and a relaxed mind, and you can put yourself in the situation that the character is in and believe in it and react as you would, all those other things are going to happen that they taught you. They're going to happen naturally, not in your head. It'll just come out naturally. And for that, I was always grateful to him. Rod Steiger, Shelley Winters, Paul Newman, with Elia Kazan, who's the one who really got me in to the Actors Studio when he voted for me to get in. You know, that was the time when Streetcar Named Desire and Marlon Brando and then James Dean, and the Actors Studio was so famous then. I thought if I didn't get in, I'd never make it as an actor, which was of course ridiculous. But I did get in, and it really helped me. For me, there is absolutely no difference if I was doing Hamlet or I was doing The Producers. The process is the same. Put yourself in the situation that the character is in. The language, of course, is going to be different. And the physical actions that you may choose to do will be different. But living the part is the same thing. It doesn't matter, comedy or drama. At least that's what I learned, and that's what I believe.
As far as the fundamentals of how when you work on a part and score your piece of it, do you blow it up on a big sheet of paper and work from there, or do you write your own lines? How do you...
You see, that is totally personal. It's whatever is stimulating to you. I have on some things thick workbooks, on others a few pages. I make little personal notes about substitutions and transferences that I make. For instance, Virginia Woolf. Martha, who is the daughter of the university president, very strong academic background in terms of her life, faculty parties and so on. Well, my father was a professor. I was raised in a faculty atmosphere, in an academic atmosphere, so that to substantiate those realities was so, I just made it direct. It matched. She adored her father, so did I. You know, so that much of it was done. If I go to St. Joan, I got a big problem. I got a lot of work to do. Do you see? In this electronic age where people are so conditioned to television and the movies, for the most part,
Yes.
the audience is from, I don't know, 13 to 23.
Yes.
And the experience of sitting in an audience is so totally different from getting a cassette in your living room. You have to be part of an audience to feel
Yes.
the experience that the director and writer want you to feel. And you don't get it in your living room while you're going for a beer or a sandwich or the bathroom or something. It's different.
Studio, God. Go ahead.
Anyway, I teach actors, and I can I give symposiums at the Actor Studio. But the only thing I can judge is from my own experience, and I've worked with Lee Strasberg for 30 years, and I work with Stanley Kubrick and Lolita and the Tenant, Roman Polanski and Robert Wise.
Right.
I've been very lucky in my career to work with great directors. And I don't sit in my trailer. I sort of listen to what they're talking about and saying. And some of them let me come in the cutting room and tell me why they use that cut instead of that cut, why this is better. And what actors don't realize, it's not just what they do. It's what goes on in the air between them. On the stage, you're very aware of that.
Right.
But the first thing an actor has to learn is to listen, because listening is very active. See, I've seen your show a lot, and you're a great listener.
Oh, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm listening to you. Okay.
You are, Skippy. That's what
thank
makes
you.
your shows interesting. Because listening isn't just sort of hearing it, it's
to read
absorbing it.
Yes.
And you're not thinking of what you're going to say next.
No, I'm listening
You're
to
going
you.
take it in.
Right.
And that's when I teach. That's the first thing. And then I make. I don't know. I'm giving a lesson here.
You
something.
certainly are.
And then and really looking. I make kids do the mirror exercise, which is you almost have to have an eye here. You've seen Harpo Marx do it. You know.
Right.
You anticipate. You could do it with me. Anticipate what I'm going to do. And do it at the same time. See if you can do it at the same time.
I almost.
See, you really have to listen, look and listen. And no matter what line of work you're in, your life experience, when it's passed on to young people that can benefit from it, I think the best thing you can do as you get older is to teach and write and entertain. But I have that sense of connecting.
I was so young that I didn't know you were supposed to be scared. I didn't know. I was so eager. I love to please. I love to be directed. And Shelley, I didn't know that she was a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
She was always so gentle and kind with me. I mean, she had warmth and compassion. You get into your character, and you just put the clothes of the character, not the actual clothes, but what makes a person.
Right.
And you walk on, and you feel, and you live. And it's very simple. It's just, it makes me so sad, because she really was a...
What have you learned working with that great actress?
Well, I don't know if you say, what do you learn? It's what do you feel?
What do you feel? Okay.
Because she loved props.
Yes.
I can't stand props.
I start with that.
She loves props. She always loved little things like that. And then magic happens. What I love is when you work with people who are true to the moment, who are warm human beings, because you're either a technical and you bring warmth, or you are an organic actress and you bring your technique. And I actually, Shelley could consider herself either. I'm definitely someone who feels first, and then I bring my technique in. And what's great about Shelley is when you are, or actors like it, Lenny Baker is on that camera too. I mean, he was a technique and brought heart. They were caring actors. They were generous actors. I was such a babe. And I was so young, and
you were 24.
I was 24, but I I wanted to be, and so I was. It wasn't that, you know, I mean, as I said, some people have diplomas and all that. I was so hungry to work and to act. And so what was so great about people like Shelley is, because I met her many years again, we worked together.
You did Stepping Out.
Stepping Out. But she, in that scene, you see how simple she always thinks. You know that she's thinking before she says, and when the words come out of her mouth, it's very true to the character.
Yeah.
And so there are so many nuances because she just plays. She gets in the scene and she was mercurial, and you cannot take away also from Paul Mazursky.
Yeah.
He had such a sweet depth touch. He was
generous with you. He told you things that.
Well, he allowed 2 weeks of rehearsal prior to filming is great because we were really a company.
Right.
So when we sat down, we knew the structure of what we were going to do, but also we were so comfortable with each other that things like that can happen, and they did. They happened throughout the whole filming. And so a person like Shelley has bravado, and she has amazing comic timing because she does listen.
She does.
But she also, it's like, how do you create magic?
I feel like I've become an actor by default, really. I've been trying all my life to do other things, and this just keeps pursuing me. I give it up after every job. So I don't really know how I became an actor. Someone threatened or dared me to audition for NIDA, where I trained, and I got in. Amazed. So, and I thought I'd give it 5 years because there's a lot of great actors out there who don't work. And I thought I can't bear the rejection, and I just sort of kept working. I love my work, and I'm intensely curious about people, I suppose. So it's the human aspect of the job that attracts me. About the whole nature of performance, about what I suppose I'm on a journey to find out why I do it. I don't know. It's really strange. So unconscious, I think, the way the bulk of an actor's job happens unconsciously. And the best advice I got from an acting teacher was when I was having problems with the script, she said, don't think about it all weekend, just go and do something else. Go to a club, go and dance, just don't, let your subconscious deal with it. The school I went to was a theatre training institution, right. So I never really thought about making film. I don't see it's an either-or situation. I think both mediums feed into one another. I think the intimacy and the proximity of your audience in cinema is really useful when you're working in a 1,000-seat theatre, that you still maintain that truth, that if someone stood up as close to you, that what was going on in your eyes would be as intense as on the screen. And also the physical nature of theatre, the command that one needs to have of one's voice and one's body is really helpful when creating a character on film, because there's wide shots, there's long shots, there's not everything happens up here, so it means that you've got different alternatives of how to use your hands, how to use your feet, how to so I find them, they definitely feed into one another. I've always loved the theatre, and it's that sort of intimate connection that you're in the room with people and you see them sweat. As an audience member, that's the sort of the medium that I've always been drawn to. It's very cathartic when you have those moments on stage. You just throw all that shit at the audience, and they're the ones who have to deal with it. You've gone through it during the night, so no, it's kind of easy to go home. When there are problems on stage, or when you haven't rehearsed thoroughly enough, or there's problems in the script, it's then that you take that stuff home, because you haven't had a pure catharsis. My relationship to my work it has to be an illicit love affair. It's got to woo you back every time. So the process of it is not one of having strange expectations. You learn about the role, you learn about the production, and it becomes what it is in that moment, and then it's gone. It is an ephemeral medium. I'm really bad at reading scripts, terrible at reading film scripts. I find it very difficult to visualize them. So it's often only almost always talking with the director that I have any conception of what it's going to be. And I love a director who's got lots of visual ideas, images, because it's often images or music for me is a way into something, into a film. But it's really, it's a leap of faith, because often it's not there on the page. I learnt a lot simply by the doing. It's the doing of it, I think, for me. It's because it is a highly technical medium. Of course, theatre is as well. I mean, you have to understand space, you have to, understand text for starters. I mean, film is rarely so concerned with the words. But definitely, I still don't, there's so much I have technically to learn in film. For me, it's to allow yourself to be seen, really. I think I have to pretend that no one is ever, and sometimes they don't, but no one's ever going to see it. Because it's quite confronting, I think, when you think you're going to be 30 feet high and there's going to be, you're not involved in the performance of it on a daily basis around the world. It's out of your control, and I find that very strange. But it is you're with a group of people, often as many as this, in a room, and you have to sort of act as if none of them are there. Where there's something about the fourth wall and the completion that the audience gives a play that you acknowledge their presence, and I think it's. For me, I had to change my sense of audience, I think, when working in film. I like to do a lot of work and then throw it all away, and then just let whatever happens in the moment happen. But I do write down every scene and obviously do my text work and beat the script and say, this is going to happen. I want to try and achieve these little things in that scene, and try not to do the same thing in every scene. I mean, I do mark it through, and then just refer to those notes the beginning of the day before you shoot, and then but then forget it, because no one wants to watch someone's homework on screen. It's not what people go to see. You don't want to see all the cogs turning. You want to feel that you're transported by something. So in the end, I suppose that's the command of one's technique, is to be incredibly technical, but then to be incredibly instinctual on top of that, and give over control. I had an acting teacher who talked very strongly about the collective unconscious, and I do think there's a strange thing that happens in the theatre when it's working, where some sort of circle is completed, and that you've constructed something between you, the players and the audience. And I don't like to go as an audience member. I don't like to go to the cinema and feel that someone's public persona is reducing the power of the piece. I don't want to feel like I'm getting to know them as a person, as a celebrity. I like to feel that as an actor you're able to create an other reality, and certainly don't want to play into an audience's sympathy where they necessarily have to like the character. Because I suppose something I do try to do is to show a character, no matter how small they are in the film, in a complete way, warts and all way. So it's that classic thing of not trying to judge the character or judge the film. And also, particularly, I mean, it's different in theatre, because if it's well rehearsed, you do have a sense of what it is, particularly through the previews. But it's hard to say what a film is, particularly when you're making it, because it's such a piecemeal job. And the editing is another thing entirely, which the rhythm of a film changes. And hopefully if scenes are well written and well performed, you can tell what the rhythm will be, but you won't know what the rhythm of the film is. If you've been cast into something, then the job will dictate the physical demands of that. And that was what was so great for me, having 3 years to train, is that you get up every morning, and the best acting classes I had were the movement classes, where you would think about every single aspect of your body. And I don't know if any of you have dealt with Laban, but the whole physicalization of text was for me incredibly useful. And I found that there was a gap when I left drama school, not going straight into work, that all that energy that one has when one trains, you need to sort of use it up. And I've never really been a gym bunny, so I would go and do, I really responded to a lot of Asian dance techniques, so I would go and do Suzuki classes, and I found that stomping was really great for me. You know, so I was supposed to do dance classes because I just found that whole integration where you're not thinking. And the thing about auditions is you can never be ready for them. They're horrendous. They're absolutely horrendous. I think the more you do, the better you get at it. The more you don't care, the better you get at it. You know, and the best thing that happened to me when I left, in terms of film, when I left drama school, was that a casting director in Sydney was so supportive of me, and she would call me in to read opposite actors. So I was not on screen, there was no pressure on me, and I could simply observe and help other actors have a good audition. And I thought, that's what it is. It's not about me. It's about what you're doing to the other actor, which is very difficult when you've got someone from the casting office saying, I love you, I really love you, and you have to respond to that. Right. You're not getting a lot back. So it's, you know, you have to kind of stretch yourself a little bit that way, but it's simply by the doing it. And I mean, there's a lot of, it's terrible when you walk out of an audition and you think, that was dreadful, I could have done this and I could have done that, and you just have to let it go and say, well, it's all helpful. It's really helpful to audition. And then hopefully you get to the point where you don't have to audition anymore. So